So with qualifying complete, we've got the number 38 Patrick Moose up on pole position, and we're getting set for 120 laps from Kansas here tonight. And Connor, as we get set to go race tonight, we've had a look at the weather information. We've seen the track temp be kind of warm. We didn't see a ton of yellows last night in the Cup Series race. What are we expecting for the trucks tonight?
I think we're going to see a little bit of controlled chaos. That's kind of what we saw here last season, the controlled chaos. We saw the short runs be incredibly crazy, but we saw green flag running here last season, although we did get a green-white checker to end this truck race last season, but the racing went green, the racing got spread out. I think it's just going to be a slower version of what we saw in the Cup race last night, where the trucks are just obviously slower, but you're still going to see these drivers get spread out. You're still going to see these drivers move around a lot, and you're going to see these drivers get a little bit desperate, as we touched on earlier. We have 3 drivers right near that cut line. Noel, Beckner, Schaefer, they're all separated by 3 points at the cut line. Jake Nichols, John Hall, they're pretty much all good. Nichols is probably locked in with the smaller truck count. Shearer Jr., Daniel Day, Patrick Moose, pretty much in must-win situations, but Travis Beckner, those 3 on the cut line got to be worried with Patrick Moose getting the pole and looking very, very fast. You are not going to be denied. Patrick Moose will not be denied if he's in a position to win this race, and I think those drivers need to be worried about that.
How much risk do you take if you're someone that's like Ed Shearer Jr., for example? You need a lot of points, but are you willing to throw everything at it to get that win?
I mean, you got to throw the kitchen sink at it at least. Heck, throw the entire tractor trailer at it. I don't really care what you throw at it, but you got to go for it. It might be your season tonight. It makes or breaks your season if you make it to the championship. For or not, who knows? If you muscle your way in there, you might end up winning it all. Kind of like how Michael Curhan won the championship in the Cup Series last season. It could really change your area career, possibly. So I think if you're in a position where you need to throw something crazy on the board as far as strategy goes to win this race, you're going to have to do it.
Well, Kansas City, population of 150,000 people. And this track, one of the newer tracks on the NASCAR schedule, built as configured in 2001. And it's about 1.5 miles around. And it's one of the unique racetracks because it was sort of dug out of the surrounding area. You can see it sort of sunken in to the ground. I always thought that was kind of a cool aesthetic. I think Chicagoland Speedway is very similar in many ways. The banking at Kansas was made progressive following 2011 NASCAR season, and that's why you get that high side that we've been talking about, where you go a little bit higher up the racetrack. There's a little more banking to lean on and widened out the groove, but to what extent is that bottom lane still usable on the long run as tires wear off? We'll have to see. Checkered flag here on the warm-up time, and we're about to head back down to the racetrack for the for the Central Mobile Homes starting grid. Tell you more about Hendry County with our replay partner a bit later tonight. If you're looking for a smaller large home, a new shed, or a Triple Crown trailer, look no further than Central Mobile Homes. They've been proudly serving Florida customers for 28 years out of LaBelle, Okeechobee, Clewiston, and Sebring. You can head over to centralmobilehomesinc.com to get started today. Down to the racetrack, into the starting grid. Row 1 is Patrick Moose in the 38 must-win scenario. He's doing everything he can so far. John Hall rolls off second. He's locked into the next round.
And row number 2, David Weishart, who's been fast here in seasons past. Seth Knoll, always fast, but he is right on the cut line, needing to have a good run tonight, and he starts 4th.
In 5th place, it's Daniel Day in the number 61. Joshua Balliet is going to be 6th in that number 7. And we'll try to mention you the EOLs and drive-thrus as we come across them.
Brad Slaughter Jr., he's trying to go 2 in a row at Kansas. He'll start in the 7th position. Alongside him will be Jake Nichols, who's virtually locked in, but not completely officially.
Travis Beckner will roll off 9th, but he will have to serve an end-of-line penalty. Ricky Springer starts 10th in the number 51.
11th position will be the 9 of Jonathan Evans, who kind of fell off late last week's race, and he'll start alongside Reese Schaefer, who is just that 1 point below the cut line, and he starts back in 12th.
Matthew Bappy in the number 89 truck rolls off in 13th place. Chris Seidenfeld in the 45, end of the line. He would have started 14th.
And then 15th position will go to Garrett Grant. Truck start 101 for him. He'll start alongside Jeremy Miller in the 30. To my surprise, he doesn't have an EOL penalty.
Evan Johnson in the number 90 will keep his starting spot in 17th. Justin Anisogak will as well. He rolls off 18th in the 88 truck.
19th position of 23 Vincent Cortez, who will have to start at the rear of the field. He'll be alongside Gary Waterworth, who has the same exact fate. Both drivers on row number 10 will go to the back.
And we'll guess as far back as it can be. Tyler Hallman in the number 62. He starts 21st place. Ben Pierce in the 65 starts 22nd.
23rd position will go to Ryan Swan. Bryce Senesac, who was not happy about his queue time, will start in the 24th position.
And then the last couple of rows here, row number 13, Casey Lakatos in the number 50. He starts in P25. Eric Wineland, 26 in the 21. He was also disappointed in his qualifying effort.
And then you got Mason Kane in 27th position, and the 28th position will go to Danny Ware, who was eliminated from the playoffs. That will be our 28 truck field for tonight. Notably, no Edward Shear Jr. So we're talking about Shear, so that doesn't matter. Shear will not make the championship round. It's pretty much down to Daniel Day and Patrick Moose needing wins. And you have those three right near the cut line. As you can see that track temp once again, it was pretty high. You see the points once again, pretty tight.
We'll keep you guessing.
What are you going to see? I don't know. But yeah, that track temp actually a little further down right now than what we saw in practice, but it might come up again with as many trucks as we have on the racetrack. And also the wind, pretty high, near 10 miles an hour. That could really make a difference on both ends of the racetrack.
Tell me about drafting. This is one of these places that's got a lot of banking. You got kind of a big pack of trucks together. It's not Michigan, but are we going to see that be a factor at play at all tonight?
I'm not sure if we will. I think we might get pretty spread out to the point where it's not going to be specifically like Michigan. I would be kind of surprised to see it end up like Michigan. This is not, the draft is going to make a difference, especially if you get a run on someone and you could suck up to them and then maybe pull a slide job into turns 1 or turn number 3. But I'm more concerned about the dirty air playing a factor. It was a big factor last night, and it really changed the trajectory of everyone's tire wear, whether or not you were in dirty air or in clean air. So I think these drivers, a lot of the difference, these drivers picking what line to run, high or bottom, it really might depend on who's in front of them and where the driver in front of them is running. You might want clean air more than you want the bottom of the racetrack for tire saving.
So 1 to green, lights are out on the pace car. Next time by, we will go green for the penultimate race of Season 6 of the Area Truck Series. Next week, old-fashioned Atlanta. We're going racing on the old surface one final time in 2024. And, well, it's about to be go time here. I've always enjoyed Kansas as a spectator here in iRacing, Connor. I always think it's put on a pretty good show. Remember the Cup race here? I didn't catch it last night. Had some things going on, but I remember the penultimate race of the season last year here was pretty exciting as well between Jake Nichols and Michael Curran. That set him up for a run at the championship, which he then won.
Yeah, that last year I put Curran into a round of 8 because it was the round of 12 cutoff.
Right, yeah.
Last season. This season, we got another photo finish with the 7 of Scioli and the 1 of Knoll, and Scioli came out on top, but it definitely, it's much bigger stakes now being a cutoff leading into Atlanta. And Patrick Moose, the guy who needs to win the most, starts on pole.
Well, he has got work to do, 120 laps worth. If he leads now, it doesn't matter. In an hour and 2 minutes, it might. Here we go with the penultimate race of the Area Truck Series Season 6 season. We're underway from Kansas. Patrick Moose leads into turn 3. John Hall's in the middle of 3 wide for a moment. He's locked in. He can be as risky as he wants. Trouble out of turn 4. Hallman spins. He's going to collect Ryan Swan. They go sliding through the grass. We stay green for now. As long as Hallman doesn't come to a stop, he will not. And big dramas on the opening lap.
Yeah, big drama for sure, and I'm shocked that wasn't a yellow. We saw a lot of crashes last night that did end up not being yellows, so we might have to watch out for that as well. Drivers who crash and don't bring out yellows could be a big part of tonight's race.
Yeah, this track has always been a little less sensitive than some others on the calendar. Keeps things moving, but it also can burn you badly if you're in a playoff situation where you need a yellow and you just can't seem to get one, or you are the issue that should have been the yellow. Is Knoll and Weishart ganging up on the 38 now.
And the 38 kind of wants to run that bottom line to keep the tires on it, but Knoll, I think, knows that he really doesn't want the 38 to win, and nor does he want him to lead, so he's going to go aggressive, run the high line, force Patrick Moose to drive a little bit harder and try to get this track position away early, and more importantly than that for him, get at least 1 bonus point for leading a lap, and he will.
Knoll does get that point for leading a lap, and he takes the lead into turn 1, single filing out down to about 5th or 6th place. Brad Slaughter Jr., last season's winner, up to 7th. We're starting 7th.
John Hall's back to 6th. This is exactly what he did last season as well. He saved really hard on the very first long run of the race, and then he ended up leading by the time we got the green flag pit stops, and he's kind of trying to do that again. He slipped back to 6th. He's almost to the front bumper of Nichols and Brad Slaughter.
Have a look at the ticker and how spread out our playoff competitors are. 4 of them in the top 10. The next, well, the other 3, I should say, are 11th through 20th. They're spread all over this field. I think there's a lot of genius for John Hall. He's already locked in. He can play the smart strategy. Lay back, let everyone burn their stuff up. You're probably going to get a lot of green flag running tonight, so you might as well start that now while everyone else is trying hard to make up spots.
Yeah, definitely got to do that for sure, and it's usually what works out for him. I think if you can save your tires and keep clean air, that would be best case scenario, but sometimes, especially on a track like this that's very chaotic and not straightforward like Iowa, at least as far as long runs go, it's just not really possible, so you kind of got to bite the bullet, just run very, very soft. You see him kind of running that middle line. He's avoiding the 33's dirty air, so it's kind of what I anticipated. Just avoiding dirty air matters more than just running that bottom line, at least for him. And we saw Scioli, the fastest driver last night. He was able to run that middle and save the tires unlike anyone else, so that could end up being an advantage as well.
Well, side-by-side deeper in the field, Garrett Grant in the 5, Daniel Day in the 61. We talked about his scenario coming into the night. Must win for the 61. I don't know that he's really shown enough pace to be a real threat tonight as opposed to the 38 of Moose, but he's got to get everything he's got, and he's gone backwards after that initial start. And the EOL? Yes.
Yeah, he did have an EOL, so he's actually made a pretty solid climb from the back to 16th position. Actually a better climb than Beckner's right now. Beckner's only up to about the 19th position, so just trying to follow Day through as Jonathan Evans and Balliet, some non-playoff drivers, almost made contact there in the middle of the entry of turn number 1. As you can see how tough it is to make positions up at that bottom line. You want to run there for tire saving purposes, but if that driver on the outside drives hard enough, oh, is it Beckner? It's Beckner around. That's not going to be a caution. That's huge.
This is what I was talking about. If you get yourself in this scenario where you're not the yellow flag and you need one, that is going to hurt. And I think it might have been all on his. Oh no! Oh, good contact there from Garrett Grant.
I think like Grant came down the track, whether he was loose or maybe looking to make a move. Not sure. He's behind Daniel Day. I think he's trying to make a move and he misjudges it completely and comes down to Beckner. Day blocks the kind of that swoop to the bottom, but Grant goes for it anyways, but Beckner's there.
Yeah, so it's going to really not work out in Beckner's favor. He would need a yellow flag to help him out at this stage. And lap number 10, here comes Balliet in the 7. He has been a rocket ship so far, hasn't he?
He has been pretty fast, and we haven't really seen that speed from Balliet this season in the truck series to run top 3, top 5 consistently, but he's been solid, although he's had a pretty rough season in the points positions as it stood, as Patrick Moose and Jonathan Evans are going to battle, as now Moose is back to the 4th position, starting to fade. I think Nichols just got a boot from Ricky Springer as well. That 38 starting to fade a little bit.
Yeah, Springer had to jump out of the throttle to avoid rear-ending the 73 any harder, and it cost him another spot. The 33 on the straightaway. Sideways.
Oh, he saved it. Gosh.
What happened there?
I think the apron transition, or him and Moose might have came together, one or the other. Him and Moose came together. I think Patrick Moose thinks he's going to go use that apron. You don't have to go down there. As the driver on the outside, you need to understand what the driver on the inside's doing. He is not obligated to give you that room. Moose took it anyways and almost caused a big crash. That was an incredible save.
Yeah, great save and a scary place to have it. That's pretty much terminal velocity in these trucks, about 182 miles an hour off into turn 1, and you're doing about every bit of that in the middle of the tri-oval.
Yeah, making a save there, that was wild for sure, and that's going to really be tough for Weishart to recover all that track position if this goes green. Obviously Beckner's situation's worse, but with where the 33 was running, that was pretty costly. He's all the way back to 25th position.
Joshua Balliet still chasing down Seth Knoll, matching his lap times. Only a couple hundredths between them that time through. Jake Nichols working the high side here of John Hall. And something tells me, looking at the points and knowing how good Jake Nichols is and when he knows to turn things on, it would not be surprising to see those two be the ones battling at Atlanta next week for the championship.
I really think this is a tune-up for these two. I think their performances tonight will really show who's got an advantage for next week. Very different track from Atlanta that Kansas is, obviously, but these two are probably going to battle each other pretty fiercely for the most part, but they also don't want to show each other everything they've got at their disposal, so they might be holding back at least a little bit, but they're going to battle it out for fifth for the time being. As I think Hall's finally starting to try to move up the field, or back to where he was at least, but can't get by the 73 right now.
So everyone, as soon as they had clear racetrack to the outside, they tried to get the truck up there. And they're taking different lines in the corners, but they don't want drivers around them to use the momentum they built on that outside lane. So they're slamming the door shut in the middle of the straightaway.
Yeah, and that's really not surprising. Usually you see a lot of blocking up the racetrack before the entry to turn number one, to the point. This is one of the tracks you see the most turn one incidents, because you're all blocking for the top a lot, trying to get into turn number one, and eventually those blocks don't work. You get put in the outside wall. You've almost out of turn number two. You get put in the outside wall for your Daniel Day, as that was really tight. 3 wide with Ware and Wineland, but that entry to turn one could be very dangerous.
Well, we see that a lot at Chicagoland too, and their tracks are very similar with the exception of the curved back straightaway. They're almost identical in construction. And you end up, and Las Vegas, we see the same thing.
Yeah, Vegas is another one, as Evans and Moose are going at it for third. Moose is trying to get that spot back because Wineland's working on the 61. They thought these two made contact down the straightaway, and Moose almost got the position back, but this is the issue. You don't clear that driver up. If there's a driver behind, right next in line on the outside, like Jake Nichols is, you're going to be going backwards, and you might just have to bite the bullet. Also, if you have someone kind of in the way on the high line, this is the type of line you're going to be looking at, about 8-10 trucks stacked up in a single file line as Moose starts to lose ground.
Jake Nichols poking his nose in here as well. He can get a twofer here.
Certainly looking for him. Evans is not that good in 1 and 2. Patrick Moose comes so close to clearing him in turns 1 and 2, but just can't quite do it every time. He's so close to doing so. Then Evans just has a good enough 3 and 4 to be able to fend off that battle from the 38. This battle's pretty intense. That battle, there's drivers all over the place 13th on back right now. They are 3 wide. They were 3 wide out of turn 2 as well. It's Anna Sogak in the middle. That is Cortez on the bottom. And that is Senesak on the top side. They've been mixing it up big time. They shuffled Lakatos out not too long ago out of this battle.
Yeah, 18 laps in, things haven't really calmed down all that much, have they? In some instances, they've actually kind of spooled back up. There's the 09, he's kind of sandwiched here, sliding around quite a bit.
Anna Sogak's going to be another Lone Ranger trying the bottom line. He has some clean air, but just doesn't have the grip to be able to get a run on the 09. And you're starting to see these drivers wiggle out of the corner, really starting to struggle with the grip on corner exit. That was a big issue last night as well. Something about this track, the walls come up at you in a hurry, especially. You got to be really careful with how you deal with this track. Man, they're all over the place back there.
Wrapping for positions. You're running out of time this season. I mean, yeah, we're talking about the points battle up front, but there's also bragging rights and other little points battles that some of these drivers are focused on. Big wiggle from the 09 is Senesak, and he's going to be vulnerable now to Seidenfaden in the 45.
Seidenfaden trying to make his way up through the field a little bit here as well. And yeah, you're right. Every position matters. We talk about it all the time. But the more the season goes on, the more they matter, the more they matter, basically. And you're seeing that going on right now. These drivers are not giving an inch right now. Lakatos has really fallen back this run. Danny Ware has kind of stayed where I think he pretty much started. Eric Weiland's been the one kind of on the charge as he almost knocked the wall down out of turn number 4. Meanwhile, John Hall's up to 4th.
Well, here's some bad news if you're a Travis Beckner fan. The good news is he's quicker than the leaders by a lot, a couple tenths a lap. The bad news is he's 11 seconds back from them and 3 seconds back from the next group of trucks. So he's got pace, but he's got no way to show it unless we get a reset here. Just about 100 laps to go now.
Yeah, if he doesn't get a reset, good luck. He's going to have to do something drastically different, I would think. As big move there by Daniel Day trying to pull the crossover on Garrett Grant. Also going to push his teammate Cortez down into turn number 1 as both Hendry County trucks kind of working together on the number 5 truck at this point. It's just Kansas at his best. He got all these lines working at the back, but you're still seeing majority of the same lines at the front that everyone's been running. Noel's been on the bottom. The 7's been planted to the top side. Patrick Moose has been pretty consistently on the bottom, and it started to work out for him. He was battling Jonathan Evans for third. Evans has fallen back to 7th.
Yeah, Moose is still hanging in there. I mean, again, he needs to win. He's not doing everything he can do, but he's pretty darn close to it, running third this deep in the run.
And if you remember Michigan, how John Hall in his post-race interview was pretty much saying it was all hands on deck trying to get Patrick Moose that victory. I would not be surprised if it's the same sort of thing here tonight, as Slaughter Jr. just got in the wall and Reese Schaefer's trying to gain some positions. With Seth Knoll leading, Schaefer is in a bad spot, but he's finally starting to at least gain some positions. And now Schaefer's not in a bad spot with Beckner in the back, excuse me. But
if Beckner gets back up here, that changes the math. Side by side for second place into turn 1. Moose goes to the middle. Now Liette up to the top where he's been comfortable. John Hall's got a great perspective of it from P4.
Even though he's in third position, Patrick Moose was about half a tenth faster than race leader Seth Knoll last time by. There was a driver on the apron. There was a mini wreck at the back there. I think someone hit the wall hard. I think it was Danny Ware, but they kept it straight. But yeah, Moose is, you can see how much better his tires are than Balliette's. Balliette's been stressing his tires out on the high side, and we're 25 laps in. We're around halfway of a fuel run, actually, pretty close to it. So I don't think we're going to see drivers make it to lap 60, but we're seeing that outside line, stressing those tires out, while Moose and a lot of other drivers just casually on the bottom, saving their right front, saving their right rear, and it's starting to pay dividends halfway through this run.
Yeah, 2 seconds of fall off already. That is significant. Oh, that was tight out at 4.
He's getting aggressive. He knows he's faster. He wants this spot. And if he wants to pull a slider, he can move up. He has John Hall to push him by, though, so he might not even have to pull the slider. He's going to go to the middle of the racetrack. Balliette's going to try to wind up that high line once again to get back to the right rear. Moose is going to shut the door. Balliette at the lift, and 38's back up to second.
He might lose third place now to John Hall. He's not going to hold punches. He's locked in, but his goal is to help that 38 truck out. Laps clicking away here. Still early days in this race, but we're starting to see the cream rise to the top here a little. Matthew Batby in the 89, one of the Hendry County Motorsports trucks. We mentioned Hendry County Motorsports Park. Racing is back at the Hendry County Motorsports Park. Join them to see Crucial late models, UMP open wheel modified, street stocks, and more. Tickets are $15 for adults with discounted prices for seniors, teens, and kids ages 5 and under are free. And come see racing at the southernmost dirt track in America, located in Clewiston, Florida, off US Highway 27. Visit HendryRacing.com for more information. So we just saw Tyler Hallman go by the shot there. On the opening lap, we saw an issue. I think it was maybe lap 1 or 2. Here's what happened there. 62
apron
slides up the hill, and then Pierce gets loose, and then they just tangle with the 20.
I thought it was going to have something to do with Hallman hitting the apron. It still kind of did, because it put Hallman in that situation. As you'll see, comes down the track, trying to follow Devin Johnson, gets too much of the apron. We're all good there, but then Ben Pierce gets sideways on his own, tank slaps him, and Ryan Swans and Hallman are kind of innocent bystanders there. So that's what happened there. Did not bring out a caution, nor did the Beckner incident. That's why Hallman's getting ready to go a lap down in a few laps right now. As we talk about how the 38 was faster than the 1. Well, Seth Knoll was saving something. Last time by, he was a tenth and a half faster than Patrick Moose, and he's opened up a 1 second lead.
Yeah, that lead has sort of quickly come. I hadn't really noticed it growing that much, but it is up to a full second. Oh, is there someone trying to hit pit lane there? That was Tyler Hallman, and the tire's all smoking down pit road.
He did get the pit lane, I think, cleanly, so he might call it a night. We'll see. He does have left front damage he's been nursing, but he gets out of the way before Knoll even has to pass him. As John Hall is now trying to work over Balliette. This is, even though those tires are getting worn out running the high line, this pass is still so tough. And now Moose is trying to give him dirty air, trying to help Hall out, and then he'll probably give him draft. I thought Moose was about to hit the wall there, but now he's going to give him draft down the tri-oval and then down the back straightaway. He would do the same thing, and now that pass is done.
Starting to congregate up there on the high lane, aren't they? as we pass the 1/4 mark of this race. All clean and all green so far. Quick look at the race stats here. 2 leaders with 1 lead change. That was Noel getting by Moose early on. All 30 laps have been green, and the fastest lap was the number 1, your current race leader. Now here's an interesting consideration. Reese Schaefer in that 07. As it stands, with Travis Beckner having the night that he's having, he could potentially point his way in to the Final Four without a single top 5. 9 top 10s on the season, but not a single top 5. And here he is. Consistency might be the key for a driver like Schaefer.
Yeah, we've talked about so many seasons now how you can't top 10 your way to the Final Four. Schaefer's going to tell us to shut up if he can pull this off right now. He's in line for his 10th of the season in 16 races. No doubt he's been consistent. Just hasn't had that race-winning speed at most tracks. He did have 1 race, I believe, if I might be mistaken, but I know last season someone had a good race at IRP. It might have been Schaefer, but I could be misremembering that. But either way, he's been very consistent. Just not race-winning speed, but he is pretty fast on this run. He ran a 4.59 last time by, which is really not that far off of what some drivers in the top 5 are doing at this point. He's been doing all of that running on the bottom line. And with Beckner not having a good run, as Balliet almost gets slapped by the 9, with Beckner not having a good run because of the contact, it's really opened the door for him to have this opportunity.
Yeah, Balliet slowly starting, well, I wouldn't even say all that slowly. He was half a second slower than Reese Schaefer last time. You see that 07 on the bottom there. So he has burned up his stuff, and I'd say pretty early in this run to be burned up at this stage. And Seth Knoll's lead only continues to grow. Not the quickest truck on the racetrack. Actually, John Hall was a smidge quicker. But Seth Knoll continues to plot his course for victory tonight.
And we're probably not too far away from pit stops because I don't believe the fuel can make it to lap 60. Lap 40 would be, lap 40, lap 80 would be splitting it in 3 even stints. We'll see if anyone wants to short pit that strategy. We'll see who tries to go long, maybe catch a yellow. Someone like Beckner might have to try something like that. This is definitely a 2-stop race at this point, as by the way, Beckner was faster. He's not anymore. He's almost back to 12 seconds behind, running about 0.2 a lap slower than Seth Knoll.
He is finally starting to run down some fellow competitors, though, and that will give you at least a little bit of hope. Feel like you're racing somebody. It's never fun just to ride around basically last on track and just sit there waiting for a yellow that might never come.
Yeah, like worst case scenario, you hate to do this. David Weishart's hit pit lane. He's usually one to mix up strategy. He'll do it again, so he's really one of the first drivers on pit lane after being in one of those, kind of being in a slide because of contact from the 38, so he was kind of behind as well. So he'll really be the first driver to even try a strategy. This really isn't that far, that early, about 5 laps or so. With where he was, this makes a little bit of sense. As we'll see how that works out for him. Mason Kane was also on pit lane, but he is a number of laps down at this point.
Yeah, Mason Kane was down laps early and has gone down even more since. And Matthew Batby in the 89 now starting to heckle Jake Nichols here for 4th place. Batby started 13th. Nichols started 8th. They both moved forward, but this 89 truck is starting to find some legs here.
In 73, not so much. I mean, he had a big wiggle off of turn 4 that time by, and he doesn't really have the long run speed I would anticipate right now. I think he got to the high side too early trying to get track position, and it has not really worked. That high side, much like it's done to the 7, has hurt Jake Nichols' tires, and he's not really able to move forward and challenge Hall or Moose. He's really just on the defensive right now, trying to hold off Batby before pit stops.
Racetrack right in line. If you're Matthew Batby, what do? You've been running this high lane. It's where your speed is. How do you find a way around the 73 without having to resort to a lane you don't want to run?
You got to get close to him. If you're not going to run a different line, as I say that, he is going to run the bottom. At least try something different. But if you weren't going to run a different line, your only option would be to get close to the rear bumper, get him loose in the center of the corner, then try to get a run on him down the straightaway or through the tri-oval, and then just pull a slide job into the entry of the next corner. I think that's pretty much one of your desperation options if you're getting that frustrated with making a pass. Instead, if you don't want to make that pass, you'll short pit like a lot of drivers just did. No, Moose, Hall, Batby, all in. Slaughter's going to follow them in, and as is Daniel Day. So a lot of drivers picking lap 39 to get the undercut. not really surprised that Moose and Hall did it. I am shocked Seth Knoll did that. It shows how much he values the undercut. He does not want to give up that track position.
Yeah, I am surprised also because you'd like to try to get an upper hand on long run pace, which I think others might try to do, or not. They're going to hit pit road here, and the 73 will be the first to break. That was really quick entry, and Schaefer, you cannot throw this away, Reese. Don't throw it away on pit lane.
Ricky Springer almost did too. He had a big wiggle. He did throw it away. Ricky Springer does have a penalty, so he will go at least a lap down, I would think. So far, I think he's the only one with a penalty. As I am a little surprised none of those, Schaefer and Nichols. I'm surprised Nichols didn't do it. Jonathan Evans, I wouldn't be shocked if he does it, but he's on the bottom line. I think he's just going to bring it down as well. So now Balliet is going to stay out. That puts Jeremy Miller to second. And Seth Knoll should still cycle out to be the race leader at this rate.
9 of Jonathan Evans into pit road. Joshua Balliet takes over the race lead. Miller to second.
So a lot of drivers at the back are kind of doing the same thing. Well, I say a lot. It's like 3 drivers. Wineland, Devin Johnson, Lakatos are going long here. Maybe trying to catch yellow, just trying to get fresher tires one way or another. But everyone else not even risking it, coming in pretty much in a 2-lap span.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how quickly that all happened. Balliet trying to recover maybe some of the pace that he lost late in this run by shortening the next one, perhaps.
We'll see the difference new tires makes right now. Last time by, Seth Knoll was 1.7 seconds faster per lap than Miller and Balliet, who ran similar laps. And the track time's pretty much hovered at 1:13. Has not gotten hotter, but it's still plenty hot to make this a very not fun time for a lot of drivers on worn tires, as Knoll will be in the process of unlapping himself into turn number 1 as Patrick Moose is trying to give chase. Moose was gaining a little bit back on Knoll at the end of that run, but it was not enough to have an actual battle. But we'll see if he learned anything that run and can chase down the one, because once he got the second, the one pulled away.
Yeah, he's quicker right now, but again, right now doesn't matter. Are you quicker at lap 80? Because that will tell you if he'll be quicker at lap 120. So now he's giving chase. He was on defense in the opening laps of the event. Now the tables have turned a little. They're back up to 5th and 6th with the top 4 still yet to pit.
See how long they want to take this. They probably have about 6 laps of fuel left. They could probably make it to lap 50, lap 51, but this is probably a one-time thing. I don't think you'd want to go another 50 laps on a tank unless you're taking 2 tires, which just wouldn't work in these trucks. So we'll see what these 3 want to do. Devin Johnson came in. Weiland pit the lap before that. Ricky
Springer has called it a night, by the way, and he will join Tyler Hallman as those that are off track.
Bally, that's what happens when you're on no tires with one other driver. You kind of do what they do. Balliet hit the wall in 4. Miller followed him into it. Not much damage, but that's how it goes.
Fixation, perhaps you're just kind of following the line of the driver in front. By the time you realize that he's going to hit the fence, you're already committed.
It's like, I know, yeah, they know what they're doing. Let me follow them. Oh, let me not do that. Let me do my own thing. Definitely monkey see, monkey do as more drivers unlap themselves. I'm
skeptical.
Still not coming down.
I almost wanted to suggest that maybe he's trying to stretch it to 60, but I don't think it's possible, A, and B, I don't think it makes sense here. With how much tire wear we've seen, this would be a really risky call.
I think how much track position matters. I just think the undercut's the way to go, and that's why you saw so many drivers pit 39 instead of 40. That overcut just doesn't really work when track position is so valued, as I think Balliet might be pitting here.
Fading. The body language tells me he's coming, and here he comes to pit lane, lap 47.
The Miller, last 2. Well, Lakatos is going to be the last one as Miller slides it in, but Lakatos will go as long as he can. He'll be the next leader of this race, although he's struggling, and he hit the wall pretty good there, but I think he'll lead that lap at least, so he does get a consolation bonus point.
Every series, every league he's ever run in, he's always been about the bonus points. He's always been about staying out, then pitting.
Going through pit road.
Yeah, just at every point that, it does make a difference. They do add up in his season. Sometimes I think in an effort to gain 1 point, he'll miss an opportunity to gain 10, but that's just how it be sometimes. And now he will hit pit lane. This will complete the cycle and leave us with Seth Knoll as the race leader and Patrick Moose just behind. Still a little bit quicker, but just by a hair, 0.6 between them.
And he's at least in draft range. This is like the perfect place where Dirty Air is not going to be that bad if he follows the line of the 1, and he'll still have a decent amount of draft that'll help him, especially through the tri-oval. So it's just kind of the best of both worlds at this point. Same thing for John Hall. Pretty much the same process. These three have separated themselves from the rest of the field at this point. It's another second back to Bappy. It's another 2 seconds back to Jake Nichols.
There's Schaefer and Jonathan Evans. Schaefer has slightly fresher tires than most of those at him, with the exception of the 9 of Jonathan Evans. David Weishart has slightly older tires, actually significantly older tires, 4 or 5 laps more than everyone else, and only got as high up as 9th.
Up to the 9th position, he'll probably fall back to 10th here, but after his slide, he pit from 22nd position, so I think if he stays top 15, I think he'd take it as a positive, just trying to recover anything he possibly can. And even with the older tires, still not that easy of a pass for Daniel Day.
Moose gained another few tenths of a second. It's 3.5 tenths between them. Brad Slaughter Jr. and Evans. Give Evans 6th spot. He's got the freshest tires of anyone in the top 10 at the moment, this 9 truck does. Maybe this is a truck to watch. It's only a couple laps different. It's not like he pit 10 laps later. Only 2 laps compared to the leaders, but it is making a difference right now. 0.3 of a second.
And honestly, a little surprised it's making that big of a difference. Vincent Cortez has lagged out of the server, so that's another driver down at this point. He was in the 12th position last time by, so that's a pretty big deal. As here comes Lakatos, he'll try to unlap himself with, now he has fresher tires. Knoll kind of trying to get him to go high. He wants that bottom line to himself, and he will give the 50 that high line. So that puts 24 drivers lead lap. Gary Waterworth, I believe, was a lap down. He is a lap down. He's actually closer to going 2 down. He must have had a penalty himself. Travis Beckner, after that cycle, he's up into the 19th position after kind of hovering 25th that entire run. Still not looking good. Looks maybe a tiny bit better, but still not great for him. He definitely needs that reset at some point.
Jeremy Miller got brand new tires. He's going to feel like a superhero driving through the field now.
This is where the overcut might end up hurting, to where Weishart's big undercut it's probably the way to go for him. When pit stop started, Miller was running in the 9th position. He's back to 17th, and he's got about 9 seconds to get to Daniel Day, who was in the position he was running.
It's up the road, Balliet and Seidenfeld. Balliet is on that same strategy, just a little further up the road. And he is 7/10 quicker than the race leader right now. So all this is going to converge at some point, and there will be winners and losers in all of this, but I think I'm most confident in what the leaders have chosen. They seem to be the least variable, taking the least risks. Patrick Moose is so close to really mixing up this playoff grid, but that 1 truck might prove to be an immovable object.
And he's probably thinking, why has it got to be this week, Seth? Because he's been so dominant on the Cup side, and he still has not had that Truck Series victory. He's shown speed this season, but I can't think of one race where Seth has dominated and fully 100% deserved to win the race. But right now, he's putting on a clinic. He was very good long run. The 38, like you said, it's like his only competitor for tonight, because you know John Hall is not going to take that victory away from him. Matthew Bappy is not close enough to really compete, although saying that, he has kind of closed it. Caution's out. Caution is out. Jeremy Miller and Mason Kane.
Oh, this is interesting. Right around the halfway point.
This is still happening.
Mason Kane was 27 laps
27.
down.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's 27 down. That is interesting.
Oh.
Okay.
I got to look at that from high above, I think.
They've had issues earlier in the season.
He was loose, but It looked like, I mean, I don't know, I have to see if we can, hold on, let's see if we can jump on board the shoulder cam here.
Definitely wiggle. I mean, he's definitely wiggling.
He wasn't turning into him, he
loose.
was just loose, just bad timing for the 30 for sure.
It really mixes things up because this pretty much brings everyone back to pit road.
But you're
And he's
still going to
still
have to
sitting there.
pit once again, so extra pit stop. What's going on here?
I don't know. Oh, they're wrecking! They're wrecking under yellow. Daniel Day, Brad Slaughter, Justin Sogak. I think Justin Sogak's lagged out or something, and he just bulldozed people.
Something just happened.
I think the 88. I've seen this before. I think he lagged out and couldn't see anyone. Yeah, he just lagged out.
Wow.
Oh my! And that caught Daniel Day in it. Daniel Day got big damage out of that.
Wow, wow, wow. That changes lots of things.
Gosh, this is going straight forward until the last 2 laps. Meanwhile, Seth Knoll keeps the lead. And that really cost Daniel Day. He might have gotten the worst out of it. I think that got all the way up to Jake Nichols. Even the 73 has damage.
Well, that mixes everything up.
So Knoll's going to keep the lead. Actually, Lakatos is going to cycle out to the lead. He had just pit, so he might actually stay out here. So that will make the restart interesting for Moose. And now you got Bappy actually jumped John Hall in the pits as well. And this is the yellow that Beckner desperately needed as well. This brings Beckner right back into it with Schaefer. And also, I think Schaefer, also might have gotten damage out of that because he was on pit road for a long time.
So we'll reset and basically split this race in half. It'll restart just after lap 60.
And we're still like 10 laps out of that fuel window, so it's not going to be like anyone can pull fuel strategy out of this. But this does, I think the tires wear so much, I still don't think 2 is an option, but it opens up at least some Hail Mary possibilities for some drivers.
So we'll come out of turn 4 and we'll reset. Casey Lakatos. Yeah, 10 lap old tires. I mean, might as well, right?
Yeah, I guess it can't hurt. You have decent enough tires to where you won't get killed here, but you definitely won't keep the lead for that long, I wouldn't think. As this is really shaking up the points because Schaefer had the repair damage. He's at the back. Beckner's in 11th now. All of a sudden, he's the one who looks pretty good on the cut line, and now it's Reese Schaefer who's really not in a good spot, and it's flipped in pretty much 2 laps in about a minute, and it's completely different from what we were seeing.
We'll restart with 60 to go. 60 laps down, 60 laps to go. And we will kick things off again.
So Beckner's going to restart in 12th. All of a sudden, he has new life. Weishart had that slide. Now he's back in the game. A few others that are on the back foot now at this point with Schaefer and Nichols in the way back.
Here we go. Kansas Area Truck Series restarting halfway through, halfway to go. Green flag back underway. Oh, this is tight.
Oh boy.
3 wide, and Seth Knoll, Batby, and others searching for a way through the chaos.
Knoll's trying to get in front of it. Batby's trying to take advantage of it and get into this fight. 50's going to get shuffled out. Moose is trying to get back the second, but Batby's going to have a pretty good run on Knoll here. Oh, big block.
Ooh, right up against the outside wall into turn 1. David Weishart's right back in this as well, in that 33. Things were not looking up for him. The 38's going to squeeze the gap.
Wow.
He needs to win this race. He needs to close gaps like that, and he just did.
And Batby's going to be aggressive. He shoved Knoll into turn number 3. The old Harvick on Johnson from Auto Club in 2011. He dove to the bottom. He almost got the lead away, but Knoll will have the run off of turn number 4. And this is what we're talking about with short runs being that chaotic. It gets spread out, yeah, but it's still pretty chaotic until it does. As Beckner, for the first time since his slide, actually no, the first time all race, he's cracked the top 10.
Top 10 has been pretty consistent. There's that 28. Trying to be the inconsistent driver that is new to the top 10 at the time when it matters most. Bryce Senesac slides up the hill.
Senesac's been sliding a lot tonight. He's trying to protect his right rear at the same time, but Beckner's got to go. Oh, they're crashing at the back. Ben Pierce and Danny Ware, they made a great save, so we stay green, but they got really sideways as Weishart's getting to the outside of Moose for third.
Good battles here, just at the tail half of the top 10, but for the lead, Batby in the 89 wants to give Seth Knoll a run for his money. He's all over the tailpipes there. Weishart to third now.
Yeah, Batby's pushing Knoll hard. I think he's pushing Knoll harder than he wants to go, and he's trying to cheat to get to the right recorder panel, but Knoll will not let that happen by any means, so Batby's just going to run in the tire tracks and maybe try to force the one into a mistake as Weishart now goes to the bottom, gets the clean air, trying to go for second, but can't get it.
Nichols back to the bottom of Valiette. That's a huge send from the 73. He meant to clear him, and he does.
That was bold. He's driving angry after getting caught up in the pit road hijinks, I guess you could call. He is restarted in about 17th or 18th. He's already up to 6th.
Oh, man. Tight quarters there. Daniel Day trying to salvage something out of the chaos that he's had around him as of late. Oh boy.
Yeah, this is Hornets Nest, and they're still trying to get around the 50 as well, who's planted on the top. I don't know how much of Day's damage is repairable, but it looks at least all right now, and he's still in the lead pack. It's starting to look like Reese Schaefer got the worst end of the deal because he was running top 10 pretty easily. He's back at 19th, and he just doesn't have the speed right now.
Oh, the 9, sideways out of 2, and Swan goes for a wiggle as well. They both hang on to it. It should split them up for a little while. We go back to the battle for third. Patrick Moose losing ground, this time to the 73. He can't afford to lose positions. He needs track position. He needs better tires. He needs to win.
This is Nichols. This is not the Jake Nichols I'm used to seeing. He's usually calm, cool, collected, especially on the short run. He's driving pretty crazy for at least his standards right now, as John Hall's trying to get back by him around the outside, and I think he will be able to do that now that battle for second's going on. Now Weishart's trying to get it away. He got the right rear Batby. Now he's going to follow the one through. He's got a run on him, but nowhere to go with it.
Closing in on 50 laps to go. Look at Jake. He's just driving all over the racetrack, isn't he?
This is something. He just slid up in front of John Hall to keep that position. He is pushing short run right now hard. And, I mean, to get into the top 5 after starting, he restarted in like 18th position. This is a ridiculous drive right now. And specifically, he restarted 16th, so up 11 positions in like 10 laps, less than 10 laps. Really impressive.
Weishart pressuring the one now. Can he make the tires last? Nichols to the bottom of Moose. Crossover on the backstretch.
look at this. Look how hard he dove into 3, and he's going to get that spot again. Moose is going to pull his own crossover, and I bet you the 0-3 is going to push to 38. He won't even need to. A little bit too deep in for Nichols there, and he might lose that position back to John Hall.
I think Nichols is going to learn why he doesn't race like this normally, because it is a short-term gain, long-term loss. Unless he's assuming that there's going to be more drama at the back, and he's just taking advantage of everyone being close together right now, using a little extra tire. But he is still at work now. 50 laps to go. About 25 minutes worth of racing to determine our final 4 in the championship. Patrick Moose is 3 positions away. Seth Knoll could lock his way in with this win.
And we're still we still need one more pit stop. These drivers are probably 8 to 12 laps short on fuels, and that's just too much to save on one run, especially when there's just not that much off throttle time. So it's going to be a very kind of odd part of the race to where you're going to be pitting in like 30 lap increments probably. So really short runs, and that might be what Nichols is trying to take advantage of. He knows it's short runs to the end. Even with the one pit stop, you're really not going that long on tires, so he's probably figuring he might as well push the tires, try to get to the front. You know what, Balliet's doing the same thing. He's getting back through the field following that 73 through.
Well, Jake Nichols is now got his hands full with Balliet and John Hall. And here's Travis Beckner. How are the points changing just like that, with Beckner back in the mix and the 0-7 down in 16th? It swings the balance wildly in Beckner's favor. And that cut line is not so close anymore with the dramas we've seen tonight.
Put Reese Schaefer up to the 16th position, at least closes it in 9 points, but it really isn't that close. Schaefer was surely hoping it would go green. He was in a good spot if it just went green. The drama up to 30 and 31 takes place. Then he gets damage on pit road from the 88's internet issues, and it's a completely different story as Bappy and Weishart almost make contact for the 2nd position. I think both these drivers getting impatient with one another, and it's letting Seth Knoll start to slip away. Oh, he's got the right rear just barely, but he's got it.
Now, is that enough? I think so. See, as soon as he throttles up on the south side, and yeah, Weishart's got nothing on the bottom now, and he's going to lose the spot to Patrick Moose.
I think Patrick Moose realized how hard they were pushing, and now I think he's been trying to save, and he's going to hope these tires can get him to the 1 before green flag pit stops. It might take an undercut for him to win this race. It's just a matter of how early does he do it, and if the 1 tries to cut that off at any point, because right now he's pretty fast, but not as fast as Bappy that time by. Bappy was about 0.2 of a second faster than Knoll last time by.
Closing in on 40 laps to go. Seth Knoll has been the dominant force of the night, the dominant truck. But Bappy is close.
John Hall got a big run. Weishart's going to start to fade pretty hard here. John Hall's got a run on him, but not quite to the right rear, so he's going to have to go to the inside. Balliet threw it in, trying to get to the inside of Nichols at the same time, as Matthew Bappy has re-caught Seth Knoll for the lead. Last time by, John Hall was 0.3 faster than Weishart. Shows how hard the 33 pushed and how it's not paying off right now. Hall's just barely going to be able to clear up. No, not quite. Weishart's going to hold him back. I almost think Weishart tried to lift there to let him up, and 0-3 didn't take it, but he should have it here.
What's Nichols going to do? Watching these two battle. Nichols has not been much more than a 5th or 6th place truck tonight. I think he's feeling the pressure of that. That's why we've seen him get a little sendier here.
Meanwhile, Bappy's the one getting sendy. He is on the inside of Seth Knoll in turn number 2 for the lead. This is really the first challenge we've seen given to the 1 truck in a long time. This could end badly at any point, and Noel can't afford it. And you know what this is going to do? It's going to bring Patrick Moose right to these two even quicker.
Yeah, Patrick is really sitting in the catbird seat now, isn't he? Let these two race each other. Honestly, the best thing that can happen to Patrick Moose is have someone that matches Seth Knoll's pace, get him to run his tires off here. Now, when are we going to make that final pit stop? We're going to wait another 10, 15 laps and make it, split this run evenly, or will we see some people break now?
This would be really early. This is going to end up being probably around a 60-lap run to the end, and you can only make it 50 laps on fuel, so you probably got to pit around 90 if you're going to split it up evenly. But drivers who are in desperation mode now, like Daniel Day and Reese Schaefer, for example, they're going to have to short pit, and those other drivers might have to counter that possibly. You know Patrick Moose is going to have to beat Seth Knoll to pit lane if he doesn't get him for the lead before we get the pit stops, but we're really not far away from seeing those final stops. On the other end of the spectrum, excuse me, on the other end of the spectrum, you might see Schaefer and Day go long and hope for that yellow.
Well, Akatis is on pit lane now. He was 30 laps into his run, so that makes sense. He'll go to the end from here. I still think for Moose, sitting back here, letting Batby harass the one for a while isn't a bad strategy. I'm not sure how much I'd engage with the 89. As long as he's applying pressure to the one, let him be.
And Batby has not gone back to the inside, at least. He's actually kind of moved back up just following the one through. He had one little charge, and now I think he's starting to struggle a little bit to get back to the bumper of Noel. That draft, it still plays a pretty important part. It pulls Batby right back up to the rear bumper of Noel, and now he's going to go back to the middle of the racetrack just trying to get in clean air at this point, but Noel has enough rubber at this point. He's able to get a good run off these corners. John Hall starting to join the picture as well. Weishart still holding up Nichols and Beckner. Joshua Balliet just hit pit lane from 8th place. That is earlier than I anticipated, but that might open some eyes.
Beckner to the bottom in this 28. He has come a long ways from getting caught up in a slip and slide earlier with Garrett Grant. Had to kind of ride around to the back for half the race. And with the second half of the race, he has done a lot of work.
This is a yellow really brought him back into the game, and he's shown the speed that he had tonight. He really has only been able to show it now that he's in the fight for a top 10 position, as him and Nichols are going to go to battle. Nichols, once again, I mean, we saw how hard he was pushing short run. It's not really surprising that he's not able to do much with Weishart at this point. But Beckner, I think, is definitely the faster truck right now. Batby, I don't think, can challenge for the lead right now, but it's funny because he's able to stay within 1 to 2 tenths. But he just cannot, he's not going to be able to complete this pass without roughing up the one, I would think.
Oh boy. Battle for the lead is on.
Oh man. He's not getting the runs when he needs to. What he needs to hope for is to get a run on Noel on exit and carry momentum into the corner so he can slide up in front of him. But he just doesn't have that right now as Beckner goes for 5th now.
Really impressed with the drive that the 28s had in the late stages of this one. He didn't give up, kept fighting at it, kept clean. And he is, at this point, putting himself in a position to move on. Reese Schaefer is doing everything to prevent him from doing that. Of course, the pit stops are underway now, so how much is this math going to change? You need to execute on your final stop as well. If you make a mistake, it's over. You cannot speed on pit lane. You cannot miss your box. You have to execute here.
It cost David Weishart a round of 8 appearance last season in this series. Beckner's going to slide up right in front of him to get that 5th position away, but he's going to pull the crossover on him. No love lost between those two, no doubt about it. And Nichols is actually going to push him up into that battle a little bit further. We saw John Hall pit that last time by, so that's pretty much on schedule. That might make Seth Knoll respond with the 0-3 coming to pit lane. I also noticed Daniel Day a few laps ago came to pit lane at the same time. So now that the 0-3's hit pit lane, I'm interested to see if that brings the one to pit lane. He's on the bottom of the racetrack, and yeah, it is. He's immediately going to respond.
And Batby and Moose stay out, and looks like we've got
Comes
a few other
33.
takers. The 33, the 73, the 21. This is what you can't do.
Ooh. I think they're in. Devin Johnson as well. Oh, Seidenfaden missed it completely, but he got the pit lane at least. So it's going to be interesting to see where Noel comes out in comparison to the 0-3, who short pit him by 1 lap. And if he loses control of the race, loses clean air, that would be better for Patrick Moose, I would think, as Bappy and Moose are going to respond a lap later.
Don't speed. Oh, that was
fast.
That was fast, but did he get it
Matthew
just right?
Bappy sped on pit entry. That throws him out of the equation. The 45 got a bad illegal entry penalty as well, but Bappy was the biggest challenger to Noel the second half of the race, and now he's thrown himself out of the race. I'm looking at Seth Knowles' pit exit. He's coming onto the track now. John Hall's in traffic. He is splitting drivers. He's all the way on the bottom of the racetrack to pass Seth Knoll for what would cycle to be the lead. That was incredible to get the track position over Knoll. Look at this traffic he's in, though.
Here it is again from high above.
Watch this. Look at it. He just dives below the 88. He doesn't want to get back up. He just goes below the line. I've never seen that here.
Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do.
And this is kind of what I expected. It looks like Reese Schaefer's going to stay out and maybe hope for that yellow. He's at least going to get a lap lead as well. And Moose is going to come out behind the one as well.
Brahma out of 4, or out of 2 last time by. Under 30 laps to go. The championship 4 hanging the balance here with the outcomes of these pit stops. The top 4 still owe us one.
I think this is going to be interesting. Schaefer might just bring this as long as he possibly can, as Noel will unlap himself with that move. Gary Waterworth still needs to make his pit stop, I would assume, as well. Interested if Schaefer's even trying to save fuel at this point. I don't think he really is. It'd be a tall task, but if he wanted to try it, I suppose he could.
I mean, I think he
this
would
is a
see
Hail Mary.
Right, yeah, it has to be, because the writing's on the wall with where the 28 was running. He had to hope that he would make a mistake on the pit stop, or that he could outdrive him, which he hadn't done since the 28 caught back up to the field. So
he's going to come in now.
Yeah.
So he's going to try. He's just going to try to get fresher tires and maybe try to make something out of this and get some key spots. I'll leave Evans on the track with Pierce and Swan.
They're the last 3 holdouts. We'll see how the cookie crumbles here. John Hall, Seth Knoll.
Noel got back to him. I'm honestly a little surprised that he's able to get back to him.
That's
and now
critical.
Hall's got to fire it here. It is critical.
That's big news, because now Hall can kind of hold up the 1 and be a bit of a thorn in the side and allow the 38 to catch back up.
The one he's going to try to just thwart this attack immediately. He's going to dive in hard, trying to clear Hall. Maybe not. He's just going to run the bottom and just battle him side by side. But yes, this is going to bring Moose into this battle for sure.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. Not letting him go easy, but this is going to be a tough pass.
I think that now, I mean, even the 89 having the pit lane speeding penalty was a big deal for the 38 because it lost the offensive, but now he's got teammate on defense, which I think is even better.
That's the thing. If he's probably going to try to back Noel up and then I wouldn't say he's going to let Moose by, but I can't say he's going to battle him as hard as he would battle the 1 for the effective race lead for sure. Ryan Swan's come down. Still waiting on Evans, Pierce, and Balliet. Actually, no, Balliet short pit, I believe. So he is going to the end. He has the effective race lead, but they're gaining on him fast. And for Noel, I think as long as he just runs where he is right now, he is good. He just cannot afford to have Patrick Moose win this race.
That would change so many things. Coming up on 20 laps to go, and Patrick Moose, he's got to put his effort in.
And honestly, as it's running right now, Beckner would not benefit from this at all. So it's almost like Seth Knoll has choice of who he wants to race in the championship for as it runs. You're obviously not factoring in if we get a caution, all hell could break loose. But if it's between racing Beckner, who he's had so many problems with this season, or Patrick Moose, who has 1 win this season, which is more than Beckner, yes, but Beckner I think has had more speed overall this season. It's kind of an interesting choice that Knoll has here because he really didn't give Moose much of a fight. And like with his history with Beckner, he might rather have the 38.
You know, that's a little bit of 4D chess there, isn't it?
Yeah. If you remember the real life truck series, like in real life, Christian Eckes had the choice to let Taylor Gray in instead of Majeski. Majeski gets in instead. He wins the title. So like you could play 4D chess here and then look like a fool. It's definitely an interesting choice, as now here comes Moose challenging John Hall for what is effectively second as they close in on Balliet.
Yeah, but obviously John Hall won't fight this that hard. I mean, they're going to make it look, I mean, everyone knows what's going on here, right? I mean, we saw this before, but the 38 is likely going to get the lead out of this, and Seth Knoll, is he just saved? I mean, we still have 20 laps to go in this race. There's still time for things to play out.
Only takes 1 yellow to change the race. We've already seen
don't
one.
Bring that bad juju on us. We're so close.
There we go. Patrick Moose ahead of John Hall.
Yeah, no surprise. And we still have 3 trucks, well, 2 trucks that owe us a stop. And then Balliet. What's Balliet doing? How did he get up there? He just pit really early.
Yep, so he's going to the end.
Yeah, but
his pace is not bad right now, but
it's not good enough to
much he's going to be able to do. Beckner, I think right now he would be about 6 behind Knoll right now. Right now he's 6 behind Knoll. So he would need to find, he'd make that 5 because he just got by Daniel Day. He would need to get all those positions pretty much.
John Hall letting Knoll go back by. Now Knoll is closing back up to the 38. So now is this another dimension to that chess match? Let the 38 get the lead and then take it from him.
I don't know if Hall really wanted to let him by there, but they're both going to have to navigate around the 7 of Balliet. And Patrick Moose has the effective lead of the race. Even then, Balliet short pit by a decent amount. It's not the easiest pass still, but I think Knoll's going to force the issue here. Yes, he does. Is Balliet going to just follow him? Yes, he will.
16 laps to go. Jonathan Evans still leads this race. Ben Pierce trails him by 7.6 seconds. Are they trying to save fuel and go to the end? Again, I don't know that that's likely to happen with the fuel economy that we've seen. Holding out for a late race yellow, that's a great strategy. But we've only seen, how many today? 1.
1.
It's quiet up there, though, isn't it, without anyone else around you?
I would imagine so.
I mean, this is the lead gap right here. This is second place. And then there's third place Patrick Moose in 3, 2, 1.
And right now, Knoll's trying to get there, but I would think he's trying to get there, but he does not have the pace. This just shows, I think, how important the track position's really been. Knoll's been fast today, no doubt, but I think John Hall and Patrick Moose have been very close to him on pace. And I think out of those three, and put Bappy in there if he didn't have a speeding penalty, if you put one of those four into the lead randomly, I think they'd all keep the lead. I just think having the clean air is so important.
John Hall is doing, look at the send he did put down into turn one. He really wants to get by this 7 and be able to go back on offense to help his teammate out. Remember the situation here with the points. Should Patrick Moose win this race, it shifts the cut line. Beckner out. There's a lot on the line with who wins this race, and Patrick Moose is sitting in the position to do so right now.
And he's not going to have help at this rate. I don't think this was by design, but John Hall has just not been able to pass a 7 as easily as Seth Knoll was able to. He's lost almost too much ground at this point. And he still won't get this spot.
So he's going to have to sit back and wait idly. All the while, Evans and Pierce continue to circulate. Patrick Moose is only 1 second behind Ben Pierce, and given the lap time differential, he should be on his tailpipes next time around. And he would catch, sorry Connor, he would catch Evans by the end of the race on pace alone if they could stay out that long.
Yeah, and that won't be, I think there's probably only 5 more laps at most in the tanks of those two drivers. That's my best guess. But he's looking strong right now. Right now, he's not really even trading laps as finally Jonathan Evans comes in. But Ben Pierce will stay out at least 1 more lap. But Noel's not even really trading laps with Patrick Moose right now. Moose is just faster as Beckner's trying to desperately get spots just in case he could outpoint Noel. But he would pretty much have to pass Noel at this point.
Yeah, would have to, or it's not looking good for Beckner if this 38 truck wins.
Pass for the lead coming up.
The cut line, oh boy. Things happen quickly here. Here comes the 38 up to the high side. Patrick Moose on a mission. He knew he had to come in and win this race. The 38 stays out. The 65 heads to pit lane. 11 laps separate Patrick Moose from doing the unthinkable, coming in, winning pole, and going out and winning a race that he needed to win to be in the championship for.
That would be 2 seasons in a row where we get that type of walk-off win. But this one means a lot more, being the one leading to Atlanta if he can pull it off. And now Beckner is officially in desperation mode as Reese Schaefer has caught a bunch of trucks at the same time. They're all laps down though, so those are not even for position for him. This is just consolation, trying to get points for himself at this point. As Noel's still bleeding time to the 38.
Travis Beckner has done a lot tonight, but it might not be enough. He's realizing it. He's side drafting the 73. Every ounce of speed he can find, he's going to have to find it.
And you know, Nichols will not let him by at all, but he's kind of trapped behind Balliet, so this could play into Beckner's favor if he gets the clean air. But Balliet's trying to play defense on both of them right now. The way that time by, I don't know how much it's worth, but Noel did pick up a 10th on the 38 that time.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I think a 10th down,
30, lap at this point.
33 flat to a 33.1, isn't it? Who's quicker?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the advantage is 8/10 now. Noel would have to start taking bigger chunks out, but
he needs a 10th per lap at this point, and he just doesn't have it right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think the bigger threat is the yellow flag, and I think primarily...
I think we're looking at it.
That's what I was going to point out, is the 28 is, as you pointed out, he's in desperation mode. We knew some drivers were going to get into this position. They were going to know the scenario. He knows with the 38 leading, his hopes are dashed.
It doesn't matter what he does right now, being... This is for 5th. He would need to pass Noel and then Noel lose positions, and that's not likely. Balliet's holding everyone up from getting the Noel. He's faster than Balliet. He just can't clear this. He's going to go for it here. This is where it could get dicey because he is going to fully come up in front of him. Balliet just kind of lets him have it. He might just not have the grip at this point. It does put Beckner to 4th.
Spector, top 5 might not be enough. How frustrating is that? Nichols
man.
sideways out of 4.
The last thing he should be wanting right now is to cause a caution himself, especially knowing he's going to Atlanta. You do not want to have to serve an EOL in your championship race.
No, you would not. I don't know that that race would go green. It's possible that it could, but you still don't want to have to fight back from adversity like that. Got to stay on the nice list as the holidays approach.
Certainly.
Tell you what, I've been impressed with Patrick Moose's performance tonight. It's not over till it's over, but with 5 laps to go, put it on pole. He's only led a handful of laps, but he led early, and he stayed in the fight all night long. I don't think he's dropped very far down. I think the stat will probably lie to us because of the pit stop sequence. I don't think he ran any lower than about 5th place all night.
His average running position might be like 2.8. I mean, he's been in the top 3, it seems like, all night long. Definitely been in the top 5 all night long. And that undercut might end up being the difference.
Only 1 lap. Four laps to go. Valiette and Nichols. Oh, 7's in the wall. And a big checkup there for the 73. That'll bring David Weishart back into this fray. Weishart's on equal footing with Nichols as far as tire strategy is concerned. How about Eric Wineland also, by the way? We haven't really talked about him tonight. 8th place. What a recovery for a driver that started in the second to last row.
Yeah, really been an impressive drive. He was fast here last season, didn't get the finish he deserved, but at least for the time being, he's on the road to at least getting a decent top 10 day out of this one. Beckner is chasing down John Hall, won't matter, but he is closing for the 3rd position.
When you really wish as a driver that you had like Formula One style points where the win is just worth a lot more than everything else, or the positions are staggered more as far as points values, because one spot up here towards the front would be worth a lot more than it would be right now in this point structure. And 3 miles remain for Patrick Moose. What a drive if he could pull this off. He is 1.5 miles away from safety.
He has no pressure. Noel just won't get there. He's trying the top side. He's moved his position, but he is just not gaining enough at this point. The Nichols has tried everything he could. Definitely an off night for him, for his standards. He just really hasn't even had top 5 speed.
No, he just outside of it, really. P6 truck. And he tried to drive it like a P3 truck, and it wouldn't take it. White flag, 1 more to go from Kansas. Patrick Moose sees a championship vision on the horizon the next time around at Kansas.
He's just cool right in the middle right now. Noel's ripping top, just trying everything he can. He finally started gaining, but I think Moose sees a championship opportunity in sight.
He won pole earlier today. He battled up inside the top 5 all night long. He didn't give up. He played a little bit of strategy. He will be one of the 4 drivers fighting for the 2024 Season 6 Area Truck Series Championship next week in Atlanta. Kansas goes to Patrick Moose. And eliminated in Season 6 in the round of 8. Travis Beckner, Reese Schaefer, Daniel Day, Ed Scherer Jr. Advancing, John Hall, Patrick Moose, Jake Nichols, Seth Noel by 5 points.
A wild, wild race. It's a very wild race for having only 1 caution, but absolutely impressive. Clutch when it matters. He did it it's twice in 1 postseason. He just did that. He did it at Michigan. It wasn't as dire of a situation, but he did it. And he needed it tonight. He came into the night 8th.
Classy move there by Travis Beckner. Give him a celebratory bump. I mean, when you're backed against a wall, he has shown that he is capable. Burnouts and celebrations for the 2nd time. And he is one of now 4 multi-time race winners this season, joining Jake Nichols, John Hall, Jonathan Evans,
Sebastian
Marin.
If he just does a 3rd time, he's the champion.
Gosh, wouldn't that be nice?
That's all he needs.
Well, what
a shock that would be.
When he's been put in the corner, things seem to be going his way. So we'll see how things work out for him next week in Atlanta. Here's a look at your race results, Connor. This was a fun one. And Patrick Moose did everything he had to do
He certainly did, and a shout out to Seth Knoll. He did not get the win. I'm sure he's pretty bummed about finishing second after leading all of those laps, but he also did what he needed to do. Wasn't flashy, but he ends up advancing by just 5 points, so he will race for a championship. The only driver in the Final Four without a victory. I don't think we saw that coming into this season. Hall is in, Beckner's out. Balliet, a good run actually for him with the undercut. Nichols, not really a good championship tune-up for him, but it's Jake Nichols. You can't really count him out. And Reese Schaefer, he was looking really good until the halfway caution, and it all came down from there.
Yeah, Reese Schaefer, you mentioned Daniel Day also out. Mason Kane, Tyler Hallman, Ricky Springer out pretty early in this one. There's your race results. Third place on the night, though, was John Hall in the number 3. John, things have worked out for you and your team. Got a couple trucks going to the Championship 4 next week in Atlanta, and a third place tonight. Take us through it.
I don't know if you guys should start calling Pat Moose Joey Logano, because I don't know what it is about these cutoff races. He just shows up I short pit everybody there to try to get the track position on him, and hopefully I can hold him off, but my right front just completely fell off the truck there. It's about the midpoint of that run when both Seth and Pat went by me, so overcut was really good. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I told the guys over the radio that's probably one of the most fun truck races I think I've ever done on the service. That every lane worked, you're full lifting into the corner. It was a blast.
John, congratulations, P3. Good luck to you next week in Atlanta. We'll see you there.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And Patrick Moose back against the wall for the second time in the postseason, and you performed. Pole and a race win, and with Seth Knoll being so dominant tonight, it didn't look likely even until near the end, but you just got that one lap fresher tire, and that seemed to help you out. Just get the advantage you need. Take us through your night and your thoughts heading into the Championship 4 next week.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it's just crazy. I knew I was good at this track, but I didn't expect to pull that out. But yeah, those one lap fresher tires definitely helped. I knew I had to do something different. I couldn't just pit with them, so it worked out.
Well, as we head to Atlanta next week, it's another mile-and-a-half racetrack, pretty different, but is there anything that you learned this week that you can apply next, even if it's not about the truck, but about your competitors?
Yeah, there's definitely some points we can carry over to just save tire and not run your stuff off early like we did here, so yeah.
Well, Patrick Moose is going to be competing for a championship next week. Patrick, congratulations.
Thank you.
No Seth Knoll, but it was interesting to note that he had some cards in his hands as far as who was going to be the last driver to advance through. Connor, final thoughts on an exciting Area Truck Series race. We head to Atlanta next week for the end of the postseason.
Shows how much one caution can flip the race. We were looking at it. Patrick Moose was still out. Seth Knoll was dominating. Travis Beckner was on the outside. Reese Schaefer was looking so good. That caution with Kane and Miller, whatever that was, really changes things. Then Anna Sogak having the internet issue, giving the 61 damage, giving the 07 damage. It really flipped things. It brought Beckner back into the race. It put him back above the cut line until Patrick Moose pulled off the undercut. He was able to get the lead from Knoll when it mattered most. And who knows what Seth Knoll did there. I don't know if he really tried to let the 38 win. It just didn't look like he had the speed there, but either way, I'm sure Beckner will remember a different way than Seth Knoll will remember it, and it should be a pretty interesting race at Atlanta. You got all 4 drivers that can win this championship. I'm still looking at Nichols and Hall. That should be an incredible fight next week.
Another elimination to do on Thursday in the Florida State Builders Area Pro Series. We head back to Georgia and Atlanta Motor Speedway for the season finale of the Area Truck Series. We'll see you there next week.